Tell me, are you the same person you were 10 years ago? I mean, sure, you look older, maybe a few more wrinkles or a different hairstyle. But deeper than that, do you feel like the same person? Or has time transformed who you are at your core? It's kind of comforting, isn't it? To think that we're constantly growing, adapting, learning from our mistakes. But it also raises an unsettling question. If we're constantly changing, is there any real version of us? In fact, some psychologists argue that we're not as stable as we like to believe. Our memories, the foundation of how we see ourselves, aren't as reliable as we think. They can be altered, misremembered, or even constructed based on how we feel at the time. That's right, the very memories you hold on to, the ones that shape your identity, might not even be as accurate as you think. So, if our memories are flexible, does that mean our identity is too? This can feel weird, right? Like, who are we really, if not a collection of the things we've done and felt? But here's the good news. Change isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's a sign of growth. So what do psychologists say about all this? There's this concept called the end of history illusion. It's a fascinating idea that we often think we've become our final self, like we're done evolving. But in reality, we keep changing over and over again. In a study conducted by Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert and his colleagues, they found that people consistently underestimate how much they will change in the future. Participants looked back and said, "Wow, I've changed a lot," but then predicted that they wouldn't change much in the next 10 years. So, what does this all mean? Well, it means that your future self might surprise you. What you value, how you see the world, and even what you want out of life could shift in ways you never expected. But don't worry, this isn't about losing yourself. In fact, this flexibility is what helps us adapt and thrive in a constantly changing world. Now let's dig deeper into memory. Have you ever shared a story from your past, only to have someone else say, "That's not how I remember it at all"? It happens more often than we think. This is because our memories aren't perfect recordings of the past. Instead, they're more like reconstructions. Every time we recall a memory, we're not just playing it back, we're actually reassembling it. And in doing so, we may add or omit details. Neuroscientists have found that the act of remembering changes the memory itself. So, what you remember today about something that happened 10 years ago might not be what you remembered 5 years ago. This might explain why who we think we are shifts over time. If our memories are constantly being reworked, then our sense of identity, so closely tied to those memories, evolves right along with them. But it's not just our memories that change. Our personalities can shift over time too. If you took a personality test 10 years ago, there's a good chance the results would be different if you took the same test today. Research has shown that while some core traits tend to remain stable, many aspects of our personality, like how open we are to new experiences or how agreeable we are, can change throughout our lives. So, if you feel like you've become more adventurous, confident, or even more introverted than you used to be, you're not alone. Our experiences, relationships, and even the challenges we face can shape who we are. If you are enjoying the video, even a little bit, now's a great time to hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on more fascinating deep dives like this. So, if we're constantly changing, should we be worried about losing who we are? Not at all. In fact, embracing change can be one of the most empowering things you can do. Think about it. Growth often comes from stepping outside of our comfort zone, from taking risks, and from challenging our old beliefs. It's how we adapt and become more resilient. The key is to recognize that change doesn't mean losing yourself. It means becoming a fuller, more complex version of who you are. Let's take a moment to talk about relationships. The people we surround ourselves with, our friends, family, co-workers, they have a massive impact on who we are and who we become. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself picking up phrases or habits from your closest friends? Or maybe you've noticed that spending time with a certain person has changed how you see the world. Our relationships influence not only how we act, but also what we value and prioritize in life. As we meet new people and form deeper connections, our identity adapts and evolves. Sometimes these changes are subtle, like adopting new hobbies. Other times they're bigger, like realizing that a relationship has led you to rethink your career or your long-term goals. The point is, we don't grow in isolation. We grow through our connections. The people we spend time with help shape our views, our values, and yes, our identity. Now here's where the science gets really cool: neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neuroplasticity is essentially the reason you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. Your brain is constantly changing in response to your experiences. Whether you're learning a new skill, navigating a challenging situation, or even just reflecting on your past, your brain is adapting. Every new experience, every challenge you overcome, every skill you learn literally reshapes your brain, and that's why change is inevitable. It's hardwired into how we're built. So if you're ever feeling stuck or like you haven't made any progress, remember this: your brain is still changing, still adapting, even when you don't notice it. And over time, those small shifts add up in big ways. One of the best ways to track how much you've changed is through self-reflection. Whether it's journaling, talking to a trusted friend, or just taking time to think, reflecting on where you've been can help you understand how far you've come. Self-reflection isn't just about analyzing the past. It's also about recognizing patterns and understanding your own growth. What have you learned from your experiences? What challenges have shaped you? And most importantly, how has your view of the world and yourself evolved? Looking back on past decisions, values, and even mistakes with compassion can help you see just how dynamic your sense of self really is. You don't have to be the same person you were 10 years ago, or even the same person you were last year, and that's something to celebrate. Here's the exciting part: you haven't finished evolving yet. Who you are now isn't the final version of you. The next 10 years are going to bring new experiences, new lessons, and yes, more changes to who you are. Instead of fearing change, we can embrace it. Whether it's learning new skills, building new relationships, or pursuing new dreams, change is what makes life exciting. And the best part, you get to decide what kind of changes you want to make. So think about it. What do you want your future self to look like? What kind of person do you want to be 10 years from now? Because the choices you make today, the experiences you embrace, and the challenges you face, all of these things are shaping the person you'll become. And remember, change is inevitable, but growth is intentional. So are you the same person you were 10 years ago? In many ways, probably not. But that's a good thing. It means you've grown, you've learned, and you've become a more complex, experienced version of yourself. The beauty of being human is that we are always evolving, learning from our past, adapting to new experiences, and shaping our own future. Embrace that change, because it's what makes life so rich and meaningful. And who knows, 10 years from now, you might look back and realize that all those small changes along the way were the ones that defined you the most. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Do you feel like the same person you were 10 years ago? What's changed for you? Let's share our stories. Until next time, remember, personality development isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself.